See why, keep this in mind, why you require the knowledge of these topics, because then one more very important topic is this. See, when it comes to social empowerment, I feel this is the important most important topic. Social empowerment is your most important topic, and in this week you'll be having a session on women, or role of women and women organization. If you see from your general studies one point of view, keep this in mind. You will surely will get a question from woman related issue, and that too it's a current affair. Your syllabus talks only about role of woman and woman organization, but the question if they are going to ask, surely they will ask really this year related with the woman from GS1, that will be related with the current affair related with women that happened in the last 1.5 year or 1 year. So the topics which will be covered this week, you will be having a session on women. So when you prepare, means when you read that material, when you attend that classes, keep this in mind that this is not only for general studies one, this is very important for your ethics paper also, and also for your essay. I'm not discussing that. I just need to, for example, there are so many case studies related with women. There will be case studies related with in all the 3 year. In all the 3 year, 2013, 14, and 15, there is question on women. Women. So there, in some cases, in section A also they have asked a question on women. So basically, when it comes to women related issue, how can you empower this woman? How can you empower this woman? Is that knowledge is very important. That I will not teach in ethics. That's not my job. That you will learn when you study GS1, especially when you deal social empowerment, when you study about role of women and women organization. See, now that you keep in mind. So I am expecting a question from ethics on commercial surrogacy this year. I'm expecting a question on commercial surrogacy where in ethics, not in GS1. But I will not teach. Your your society teacher who deals with the women related issue will deal with it, and that will be this week. I think for the evening batch already that class have been taken. So keep that in mind. So every in that issues you need to have an ethical stand. What is the correct stand you will take? Whether commercial surrogacy need to be there or not? On what basis you justify it? You need to justify it. So everything, all the content, what stand you need to take, everything, everything will be dealt. Everything will be dealt in that material. So keep this in mind. Okay, that is very important. Or if you are lucky, if you are lucky, same women related issue will come in your GS1 also. So this interrelation of GS1, 2, and 3 and 4 to 4 is very important. So keep this in mind. These things when you study again, when you study NGO and self-help group, NGO and self-help group have a very important role, especially in your case studies. Even though they will not ask any direct question. They will not ask any direct question related with self-help group or NGO in your ethics paper. But you need to bring them. There is one more person which I will suggest is media. Even though it's not there directly in your syllabus, but you need to bring media when you deal with case studies. Then environmental impact assessment. If there is a case study or any question related with environment, you need to bring this angle to that question. Getting the point? If there is any question in ethics related with environment, you need to bring the significance of environment impact assessment. Where you will learn environmental impact assessment, it is there in GS3. This week there will be a class on environmental impact assessment. Then when you deal with disaster, when you deal with the disaster, when you deal with the disaster case studies, when you deal with disaster, you need to understand. See, suppose you are going to deal with disaster, what ethical stand you need to take, I will teach you. But how to manage a disaster, the disaster management faculty will teach. What are the basic steps in when you deal with disasters? That's very important. So what I am seeing is You can expect in 2015 there was a question related with disaster management. So that knowledge is required. Disaster management knowledge is required. Now from the security angle, see, even though they have not asked any question related with cyber security, but this year belongs to cyber security. When it comes to security related part, when it comes to security related part, cyber security have become very important. So there is a scope that either in case studies or in your section A, cyber security, if we're not, even if not direct question, an indirect question will come. You can bring the cyber security angle to your ethics paper. So again, if you see international relations, so what all knowledge you study. For example, when you deal with politic current affair, there is a very important topic: criminal defamation or sedition, or this section 377, which relates with the third gender rights. So in all these places, there is an ethical dimension is there. There is an ethical dimension is there. So you can bring these to your ethics answer, whether it is in section A or in section B. So keep this in mind. The major in case studies, when you deal with case studies, what stand should be taken, how you need to approach a case study, you will learn it today. But the knowledge for your GS 1, 2, 3 is very essential to score well in your case study, especially with these matters. So whenever the classes will be taken, if suppose especially related with these topics, study thoroughly, not only for your that paper, but also you keep this in mind. I'll be using this knowledge in my ethics paper, especially in case studies. Okay. Now simply I will say that there, if you see the last 3 year question paper, the most important weightage is being given to case studies from 120 marks to 130. This is the range in the last 3 years. So this trend will continue. There will be 6 case studies. There will be 6 case studies, and either the question weightage is like this: out of the 6 case study, 20 marks or 25 marks. The word limit is 200 words or 250 words. This is the biggest challenge. And if you consider the time, you can give around 18 minutes to a case study. Now keep this in mind, you can give only 18 minutes to a case study, but the toughest or the biggest challenge for you will be in completing that case study in that time, 18 to 20 minutes. Now keep this in mind. I asked you the first question: have anyone written any case study? You have not written. When I say this, related with case study, when I say, keep this in mind, when you write case study for the first time, don't follow the time. Don't follow. This is the biggest mistake students are doing. They are learning to write answers on time. That is not the rule. The rule is first you need to learn how to answer to the question. You're getting the point? The rule is first learn how to answer to the question. Have I addressed all the issues in the question? Once you learned how to answer to the question, then gradually you can write on time. So when you practice case studies, try to ensure that you take, even if you take 1 hour to write a case study, there is nothing wrong in it when you are practicing it. Especially the 18 case studies question which you are having in your hand, that is 2013, 14 and 15 question. The biggest strategy is, the best way of scoring high in case study is, solve these 18 question yourself. Write, take your time, answer all the 18 questions by taking into consideration all the perspective to the question and come up with a conclusion. This is what is required from your part, and then when we go for practice test or test series, you can write it on time. Okay, once you know how to write these 18 case studies, then automatically you will learn to write to the question. You will learn to write to the question. Then time will not be an issue. You can follow it that also. So please keep this in mind. Okay, now what is the most important thing in case study is that they are going to test your personality. They are going to test your certain traits. The most important trait is the problem solving skill. Your problem solving skill. Keep this in mind. The most important trait, so many things will be tested, but your problem solving approach. How how efficiently or how effectively you can solve a problem is being tested in this 6 case study. So keep this in mind, what is being tested in your case studies. In that scenario, your personality, see, for a good problem solver, requires lot of traits. The most important trait is understanding the situation. Now try to understand all the 6 case study deals with some type of problems. If you see all the 18 case studies, it is dealing with some sort of problems. And what they are doing with you, they will put you in the center of that problem. You are in the center of that problem and asking you to solve that problem. This is in simple what a case study is all about. You are in the middle of the problem. They are telling you, you are this. If you are this, how will you solve this problem? What is your approach? Justify or tell your priority. So if you have this basic idea in mind, you can, I'm saying that in your mains paper, this section is the most easiest. Okay, so once you know the demand, then while dealing with it, other characters like your integrity will be also be tested. Your courage, your communication skills. So everything I told is it will all come under as a good problem solver. So the best way to deal with case study is, in order to not to miss the major uh, question, means answer to the question. What you can do is, I'll devise you a method. Follow this method, case study will become very easy for you. What you need to do is, keep this in mind when you deal with case studies. You use this stakeholder, don't use the word, but use this approach. I'm what is called as, bring all the stakeholders in that situation. In every situation, it's not only you. In a situation, it's not only you. There are a lot of people involved in that situation. So you need to have an idea. Who all are there in that situation. Then only you can solve that situation in a better manner. So for that, what you can do is, this is what I've devised for you. You are here. You can be A or B or C or D, whatever it is. You are in the middle of the situation. Now to solve the situation, what you can see, don't draw this figure. Don't draw this figure. Draw it as in a rough space. Okay, when you practice it, use this method. What you can do is, bring all the stakeholders in the situation. Who all can be there, or who all I can use to effectively solve this situation. You getting the point? So sometimes in the question, everyone will be there in that situation. Automatically in the question itself, everyone will be presented. In some case study, you need to bring some people to solve that question. For example, since in certain cases we'll deal this approach with using the question like the previous year questions. What you need to do is, put you in a situation, read the question carefully, who all are involved, write them here, and if UPSC in its question is mentioning about any person, then that person have a role in that situation. Any person or any something important is being mentioned, or any important place is being mentioned in the case study. What does it mean? They have a role to play in that situation. What UPSC expects from you is that, are you noting this person or this situation or this important what do you say, important places? For example, they clearly specify village. They will specify the word village, or they will specify the word fort. They will specify this word disaster prone state. Why they are specifically mentioned these terms? For you to have an awareness. That's very important. So in the sixth situation, you keep this in mind where you are standing. Are you standing in a village? Are you standing in a disaster situation? Or where are you in a private company? So that will help you. And then who all are involved in that situation? Who all can be used in that situation to solve the crisis? This is how we have to approach the case study. So this is what I call, bring all the stakeholders in that situation, use them. So here the quality of a leader, the quality of a communicator, the quality of a coordinator can be tested. You getting the point? Now here you are the link between all these people. You need to ensure that all will work as per your direction. All of them will work as per your direction, and you need to have certain persuading skills. Sometime your superior will be there, sometime your colleague will be there, sometime your subordinate will be there, sometime a different department personnel will be there who is not at all happy with you, but you need him or her in that situation. Then only that situation can be effectively solved. So this is very, very important for you. So keep this in mind. Case study is not at all a theoretical paper. It's not so don't bring any theory. Don't write stories. I had seen students writing stories. I had seen students writing quotes in case studies. Foolishness. Don't do it. Just understand the question and write to the question. And you have word limit. You have word limit of 200 or 250 words in case studies. So keep this in mind. So to address all the questions and conclude in a conclude the case study with by connecting all the situation or all the questions. So ensure that when you conclude this is being followed, that in the conclusion you are giving a long term solution to that problem. In the conclusion you are giving a solution which is not short term but it is long term. So what is the basic idea of giving a long term solution? That I have solved a problem and I will not allow the problem to repeat again or come again. That is the quality of a good problem solver. I have solved a problem. Now the same problem will not crop up again. I will ensure that all the steps will be taken care of. You getting the point? In this way you have to finish your case studies. Now we'll see in the 2015 case studies how this method or this technique can be used to address each case study. And then again, knowing an answer to a case study is not sufficient. I'm telling you, after explaining how to write a case study to a particular question, students have not written a proper case study answer. So you require practice. You need to be patient. Go home, give your time and answer to all the question, and then submit the answer. You can submit your answer to Felix. Will give it to me, and you will get the feedback also for case studies, especially for these 18 case studies. Okay. Now take your 2015 case studies. See, in the orientation session, I have dealt with the sixth case study. Remember? But we'll deal it again. Okay. We start with this fourth case study. Take this fourth case study. Okay. Now, when you write, see, keep this in mind. UPSC have mentioned the word limit and the marks. The fourth case study of 2015, they had set a word limit of 200 words and marks 20 marks. Okay, and logically we have 18 minutes. If it is a somewhere around 18 minutes, near you can give 18 minutes to answer this question. But I'm telling you, you need to practice it. You need to practice it how to write a case study. Now you see in this situation how we can approach this technique in this situation. In this situation, 2015 case studies, page number 3. Page number 3. Fourth question. Yes. Now see this question. Okay. Now keep this in mind when you answer case study. When you answer case study, I told you first thing you need to keep in mind is that you are in a situation. Yes or no? You are in a situation, and that situation is not comfortable situation. There is a problem is there. So you need to understand that situation. And what is your aim? When you write up answer? Once you complete your answer, what is your aim? You need to give a long term solution, and also you need to address all the questions being asked. What all questions have been, you need to address all those things. And in the concluding para, you need to ensure that this type of situation will not arise, or even if it arises, it will have less impact. For example, regarding natural disaster, can you do any steps which will prevent natural disaster? No, you can't do that. It will repeat. But what you can do, you can reduce its impact. Because if you know that, and this has happened in India so many times. This has happened in India so many times. We have learned it, and we have taken so many necessary steps. So that's our aim is all about when we deal with case studies. Now here in this question, see this word. There is a disaster. If you read this word, the term is already given a situation. This you have to see it. It's been clearly mentioned. It's been clearly mentioned. There is a disaster-prone state. So it's not an ordinary state. It's not an ordinary state. It is a disaster-prone state. I hope that you know the meaning of it. Disaster-prone state. Then now they are explaining what are those disasters. They are explaining what are all those disasters. That is landslide, forest fire, cloud burst, flash floods, and earthquakes, etc. So it's not an ordinary state. Earthquake is there, flash flood is there, cloud burst is there, forest fire is there, landslide. So many. So you can say that it's a disaster prone state. Okay. Now some of these are seasonal. Some of these are seasonal. It means that in season, for example, floods or cloud burst happens in particular season. We know that. Okay. Now earthquake, no, you can't say earthquake. We can't predict. It's not seasonal. Some are often unpredictable, and often unpredictable also. The magnitude of this is very important word. The magnitude of the disaster is always unanticipated. You can't anticipate what will be the magnitude of. So two things are very important. One, it is a disaster prone state. It is a disaster prone state. Number two, that the impact or the magnitude is always unanticipated. So this is the situation. They have not brought you till now. Just they are telling you where you will be now. It's giving a hint. Now see, in case study, keep this in mind. When they are giving a situation, they are going to put you in the situation. So you will be there. Even though after reading this, they are not mentioned where you are. But keep this in mind. They will put you there. Okay. Now, during one of the seasons, a cloud burst caused devastating. So a cloud burst happened. There is a devastating floods is there, and landslides leading to high casualties. There's a high casualty is there. There was major damage to infrastructure. So this is again a very important word. Damage to infrastructure like roads, bridges, and power generating units. Now my question is, why this line have been introduced to this question? UPSC, if it wants, it can skip this line. Yes or no? Yes or no? Why they have introduced? So there is a purpose. There is a purpose behind introducing this line. See, already they said it's a devastating flood, and it is saying that major damage happened to infrastructure. Like what all infrastructure? They are clearly mentioning roads, bridges, and power generating units. So in this situation, it's there is a very severe situation is there. Lot of casualties there. Power is being affected. Road and bridges is getting affected. It means that transportation is affected. Electricity or power is also affected in this situation. You understand the situation? So keep this in mind. So this situation, they are making you see, put yourself in that situation. Now you are in this disaster prone state. Now imagine that situation. You have seen in so many movies these type of situations. So you are in that situation where power is not there, road is flooded with water, bridges might have collapsed also. It's very big damage have been. There is a high casualty. Okay, all this been mentioned in the question. Then another keyword. This led to around 1 lakh 1 lakh people. So uh, this disaster have been affected to around 1 lakh people. Now who are these people? It's been mentioned. They are pilgrims, tourists, and other locals trapped across different routes and locations. Now, from why this been mentioned in this question? Pilgrims, tourists, and other locals. Again, they are going to give you an idea about the state. It's not only a disaster-prone state; it is a pilgrimage state and also a tourist attracting state. Getting the point? So that's the meaning why they are mentioned. So this is a state where, so it means that this in this state regularly lot of not only locals, outsiders will come. Getting the, in this state, unlike other states, there will be during certain period of time pilgrimage people will come that during that time, and also tourists will be coming. Now why I am giving stress to these points? When you give the long term solution, when you conclude, ensure that you will conclude like this. Will you conclude like this? I will not allow no more pilgrimage to happen in the state because it's a disaster prone state, so to reduce the casualty. Or I will not allow tourists at this seasonal time. Is it your conclusion? No. They have to come. Now I will plan in such a manner after this incident. Now even if such type of disaster happens, I will ensure there will not be any there will be less casualty, or there will be sufficient infrastructure. I will ensure that the power will not get affected, road will not get affected, bridges will not get affected. So I need to plan it accordingly. So that's my long term solution. I need to have an infrastructure for evacuation and put them in a proper place. All this has to be done. So this you can plan it. Why? Already it is mentioned it is a disaster prone state. Already it is mentioned it is a disaster prone state. You need to plan it. That's your conclusion. So you are not only solving a problem, but you are also ensuring that these type of problem, even if it repeats, you can't prevent these type of disasters. It will come. But what you can do, you can reduce its impact, or you can easily handle it. See, you can see that there are states like Andhra Pradesh and Odisha, where cyclones have impacted lot of people earlier. But now in the recent 2 or 3 incidents, there were proper evacuation plan, proper planning from the administration, and resulted in no casualty at all. So this you can plan it. But in the earlier instance, so this you will learn when you prepare for disaster management. When you deal with different disasters, what is the success model? You can learn it, because this you can also suggest it. So keep this in mind. Okay, now come back. Uh, See, now you're coming. You are still not. You are not been introduced, but you are coming slowly. The people trapped in your area. So now you are here. You are not mentioned who you are. Your area of responsibility is very important. This term is very important. Responsibility. Now, in all the case studies, you have a responsibility. In all the case studies, you have certain duties. So because of that, you have very important responsibility. It's very, very important who you are and what is your responsibility. That's very important, and you have to do your responsibility by taking into consideration so many factors. Once you are responsible, you have to ensure that you have done your responsibility in the best manner with the available resources, and you need to ensure that everyone is taken care of in while doing your responsibility without any bias. You need to be neutral. So there your lot of integrity and other related character means traits will be tested. So keep this all in mind. Okay, so it's already saying that, okay, now the people trapped in your area of responsibility includes, now in your area of responsibility includes people like so now what you can do is we can bring it. So in order to ensure that nobody is missed, Now, who are the people involved here? See, now I got an idea. Pilgrims are there in your area. Pilgrims are there. Tourists are there. Locals are there. Locals are there. It's already mentioned. Then, then they are clearly saying that now among these people, what category of people are there? One is senior citizens, patients in hospitals, senior citizens, patients. They are not ordinary patients. They are patient in hospitals. They can use two terms. They can either say patients or they can say patients in hospital. So why when you are in hospital, your health wise you are much more worse than the normal case. So if you have a fever, also you can be at your home, or if the fever is very high, you need to go to hospital. So why I'm saying is every term mentioned in the case studies you need to understand on that context. Don't read simply a case study like normal question. It has been a situation, and your uh, as a problem solver, everything you have to take. See, visualize this situation. You visualize this situation. You are in such a situation, a disaster prone state where the disaster happened. You are seeing these people. You are seeing people, senior citizen crying for help from your side. Then patients in hospital, see that situation. Then based on that, you plan your actions. Then women and children are there. Hikers are there. Women and children are there. Women and children are there. Hikers are there. Then tourist, we already mentioned tourist. Then ruling parties, regional president is there. Regional president. Along with his family is also there. Additional chief secretary of the neighboring state. Additional chief secretary of neighboring state, not our state, neighboring state. And prisoners in jail. So this is the situation. This is the situation. Now they are telling you who you are. You are a civil service officer of the state. They are not correctly not mentioning what is your post, but they are mentioning to this disaster prone state who you are. You are a civil servant. You are a civil servant of this. You are a civil servant. You are a civil servant of this disaster prone state. You are not a civil servant of an ordinary state. You are a civil servant of a disaster prone state. Now, what would be the order in which you would rescue these people, and why? Two questions are there here. What is your question? In which order you will rescue these people? Tell me the order and explain why you prefer this order. This is your question. Then give justification. Is it an easy question? By seeing it, it's an easy question. Now you answer it. It is not an easy question. It's testing your so many things. Now, normally I'll tell you, in a normal situation, if you are not there, normally who will be evacuated first in this situation? The ruling this regional ruling party's regional president and his family, and the additional chief secretary will be evacuated first. Yes or no? Normally this is, and if you say no, that then you will learn it when you become an officer. Who will be rescued first? So this is the normal situation. Now you tell me, it's your responsibility when you are there as a civil servant, when you have the responsibility to rescue these people, whom you will rescue first, and what will be your, again see, keep this in mind before going to this case study. My question is, how is your approach? Will you save a certain section of the people, or will you try to save the entire people affected by this disaster? What is your approach? What is your approach? Hmm? The entire people. So you need to start like this. As a civil servant of the state, can use this word, as the civil servant of this disaster prone state, it's my responsibility to rescue the entire 1 lakh affected, because it's mentioned here 1 lakh people, or the entire people affected by this disaster. Getting the point? My introduction will be, or your, this should be your approach. You can use different method. I'm just giving you an idea, because by starting the case study in such a manner, what impact the evaluator will get it? Okay, see, he consider all the lives of the people affected, because you are considering the entire people, because you are seeing everybody is crying for help from you. So your first intention has to be like this, to rescue the entire people, and that you need to mention it. And then now you know that, see, now here lies the problem of this, why this line have been given. It's not easy to rescue at one go, because road has been affected, so transportation has been affected, then power is not there, so that's a very big so the basic infrastructure is not there. Now how can you rescue? You need to use maybe helicopters and other like situation, because this type of situation is happening especially in northern states of India, especially in Uttarakhand. Actually this question you can say that it's related with this Uttarakhand that will disaster only. So it's a situation which has already happened, and you have seen that news people were coming up with in certain period of time. So many people were evacuated, and then media started criticizing certain politicians. How in this, how can you evacuate such large number of people, because there is no proper infrastructure. So what I'm trying to say is, so if the situation has arises, so you need to give a preference. Now in your syllabus, in your syllabus your certain traits will be tested based on your order. The See, your trait, your personality will be tested based on which order you prefer. Okay, and the problem is, see, now just only answer to the question only. Just answer to the question only, because you have 200 words. 200 words. You need to address. You need to justify. You need to decide an order, and you need to tell why I am taking this order, and you need to justify it. Now the normal thing is that everybody thinks that this people, prisoners in jail, even if anything happens to them, there is no problem because they are prisoners. Don't take it that way, because it's a human right violation. They are only prisoners in jail. We don't know whether he is a convict or not. That's the second question. I'm not going to that part. But what I'm trying to do is, what I want to convey to you is, ensure that everybody is rescued. Everybody is rescued. So in here, if you see the who are the most weakest section here, who require your help. That's, see, there are people. See, you can take your preference. Okay. So what will happen? A lady candidate may prefer woman and child. Okay, that's, they think that they are the first preference. But see, there are, see, these three. I will say senior citizen, patient in hospital, women and children. This has to be your top three. This has to be your top three. And if you can justify, and why you prefer senior citizen, or why you prefer patient in hospital, or why you prefer woman and child, you need to tell why. That you need to answer it. And then if you see it, okay, there are people like hikers. Hikers. What is the specialty of these people? Huh? They are, see, for so comparatively to others, they can manage, because they are risk taking people. Yes or no? They are risk taking people, and they will have so many basic facilities with them. You getting the point? And hiker will go like this? No, he will have all the base, because he knows that somewhere his thing is related with, hiking is related with some sort of danger. He will have some precautionary measures in his bag itself. Something will be there. But he also have to be rescued. That's a different case. Then what about these people? What about these people, regional president and all these things? And what about the locals? What about the locals? See, local, who are they? They are the local of this disaster prone state. They are used to it. Okay, getting the point? They are used to these disasters. It happens regularly. So they know where to hide or where to, because to deal with this situation, where they have to move on, everything they know it. Because local people know the local conditions. Yes or no? Local people know the local conditions, but the pilgrimage and tourists, do they know the local condition? Do they know where they have to go and to prevent this situation? No. So by keeping all this in mind, now don't ask me, tell me the order. You have to write the exam. You think I'd given you how to write this case study. You think you can take any order, but you need to tell why and you need to justify also. But after dealing with all these issues, in the conclusion, this should be, see, in all the case studies, this should be, in the conclusion, you need to suggest that either, if, see, since it is a disaster prone state, I will make a plan. I'll make a plan, or with the support of the state government. You can't, because you don't know what post you are at. You need to ensure that this plan will be implemented by the state government, so that in future, if such type of disaster happens, there will be proper infrastructure for people to move on. See, you can't directly in few hours, you can't move all the people affected by the disaster to some other safer places. In the same state itself, you need to ensure that the infrastructure, you need to ensure that, since you know that floods are seasonal, you need to ensure that all the proper infrastructure will be maintained, during the crisis, and also ensure that proper rescue place, once you rescue a person, with all the basic infrastructure, like we need to have hospitals which will not get affected, which will not, see, hospital, the infrastructure of hospital has to be like this. It should be able to accommodate more number of people. It should withstand these disasters. The power of the hospital should not get affected, and also there's not only hospital, other places also, safer places. See, hospitals, we can move people who are affected by this disaster severely. Other people, you need to move them to such places where they can stay for 1 or 2 or 3 days, so that once the disaster effectiveness come down, or especially in this case when the water level comes down, you can move on these people, so that the life will not get affected. So this also have to be there in your answer, even though in the question they have not asked it, but in the conclusion of this case study, you have to mention it.